Today's gospel is about dining out and dining in. And it's something that we're very familiar with here in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we like to party, we like to invite friends, we like to dine out. We often get invitations from people to join them for meals, and it's always very enjoyable. Except for one thing. I sometimes find it very difficult when I'm invited to dinner here or to a meal because I don't know where to sit. It's tricky. I'm not sure exactly what the host has in mind because there are other guests there, and I'm always a little edgy until the people begin to sit down. So for me, sometimes being invited out can be a bit disconcerting until the seating is arranged. And once the seating is arranged, then I can enjoy the food. So Jesus addresses this issue today in the gospel. And it's particularly difficult as a priest, because people will say to you as a priest, "Oh, Father, you take the top position. You're on the top table. You are the guest of honor." But you cannot always be the guest of honor. But this is what happens. And so, trying to balance this, so I was listening and trying to reflect on what Jesus was trying to say today, because, excuse me, Jesus was not impressed by the people at the meal that he went to. Because the guests, were not focused on the host. They were focused on their own position. They were trying to get places of honor. And they used the word scrambling. They were scrambling for higher places. And Jesus is not impressed by this. Jesus is actually calling us to be much more realistic about who we are and to be humble in front of God and in front of other people. So, today, the reflection is, can we change that? Do we have to look at the place of honor in order to feel that we are important at a meal or in society? Where is our social status? All of that. Can we change that? And when Jesus is asking us to be humble, he's not asking us to be humiliated. There's a difference between humility and humiliation. Being humble is we know our place in front of God. Being humiliated is being put down as if we have no value. And of course, in front of God, we have value. So God is not talking about humiliation. God is talking about just being humble. And one of my friends often connects humility with teachability. Am I teachable? If I'm humble, am I open to learn something from other people? And hopefully I am, and hopefully we can learn from the gifts of other people, and then I can see my gifts in relation to their gifts. But as I was thinking about today and the possibility of changing the way we look at honor and social status, 3 examples from Pope Francis came to mind. The first one was in 2013. When Pope Francis was elected Pope. He was elected, I think it was the weekend of Palm Sunday. So the following week was Holy Week. And normally, in Holy Week, the Holy Father, on Holy Thursday, would wash the feet for the previous 40 years of 12 priests. 12 priests, specially selected, very clean, no doubt, and they would be ready, and the Holy Father would wash their feet as a symbol of what Jesus did at the Last Supper. But in 2013, Pope Francis said, "No, I'm not doing that." And he left St. Peter's. He left the big basilica, and he went to a prison. He went to a detention center, and 12 prisoners were selected. Prisoners. 2 of them were Muslim, and 2 of them were women. And Francis washed their feet. This was a very strong symbol, very much in line with what Jesus is saying today, that external circumstances do not decide your dignity and your worth in the eyes of God. And he was really saying that you as prisoners are valuable in the eyes of God. The second one that came to mind was shortly after that, when he was elected Pope, he decided not to live in the papal apartments. There is a special papal apartment for the Holy Father, and he decided he wasn't going to live there. He preferred to live in the community, in the St. Martha community, where there were other priests and religious. He wanted community. He didn't want to be isolated, admittedly in a very high social status apartment in Rome, where the Holy Father had lived. But Pope Francis said, no, I want to live with the other priests. I want to be in part of the community. So this struck me as an attempt by Francis to kind of do something about the gospel in this way. And the third example was, a few years ago, he visited Washington. And after the Mass in the cathedral there was a dinner prepared for diplomats and for high-ranking people in church and state. And the Holy Father said, yeah, that's very nice, but he said, I would prefer if we could have lunch in the center where the homeless people are gathered and who have no food, and I would prefer to go there. And I invite you to come with me. And he invited the people who had high social status to come with them, and they did. So these are all signs that it is possible to change at the highest level and try to get into the spirit of Jesus. So today, Jesus is asking us in the gospel not to depend on exterior signs of social status or social upward mobility for our worth, but to know that deep down we are accepted by God, created by God, loved by God, and that our dignity lies there. Because Jesus is putting forward a different vision, which is very different than the vision the world puts forward. And he's inviting us to be part of this banquet where all are welcome and where there is no division based on social status. So this morning I feel that God is asking us to think a little bit about what gifts has God given you? What gifts has God given me to live in this world and to respond to his call to love? Just think for a moment, what gifts do you think you have? What gifts do you think God has given you? Because we are a very varied community here this morning, and each of us has different gifts. So we can think about the gifts. Maybe we can think during this coming week, what gifts has God given me? Has he given me any gifts? Sometimes we wonder, my God, that other person has so many gifts, I have so little. Not true. There's no point in comparisons are odious. God has given each of us gifts. And can we accept these gifts? Can we accept them? And give thanks to God for that gift. And then ask ourselves, how can I use these gifts for the sake of other people who may be in trouble, who need a word of consolation, who need a word of comfort? So today, the gospel and the readings invite us to be humble, not to be humiliated, but to be humble, knowing that everything we have, the gifts we have all come from God, and that we are asked to appreciate these gifts and to see where we can use them for the coming of the kingdom, to bring loving service to those who need it at this time. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.